My name is Kez Hayat, and I'm the head of Equality, Diversity and Inclusion at Bradford Teaching Hospitals. We're here today really to share with colleagues and people who are on the call about the wonderful work we're doing at BTHFT in terms of raising the profile of disability for our workforce. So we've just got some slides that I want to go through very quickly. I'm going to skim through them. Oh, brilliant. Thank you, Sarah. We'll just go through the slides, and we've also got a video that we would like to show as well. But before I do that, just want to set the scene really. I think it's great that people have joined this session. But as part of our wider focus on celebrating International Day of Disabled People, and also as we know it's Disability History Month, we got together initially with a few colleagues within the Bradford and Craven Health and Care Partnership, and we had an initial conversation about, rather than doing things individually, which is really important as well, we felt that under the Act as One, and in terms of getting together by showcasing and sharing some of the approaches to disability equality in our organisation was a sensible thing to do. So from that conversation, here we are celebrating Disability History Month by having a disability festival for the whole of this week. And there's been some really powerful sessions, actually. I was dialed in for the one earlier on, which talked about hidden disabilities and neurodiversity and people and colleagues sharing their lived experiences, which was absolutely fantastic. So this is the first ever disability festival that we've organised. As I've said, it's been organised by the Bradford District and Craven Health and Care Partnership. I can never get that right. And we've got a week full of various different events taking place. Now, I'd like to direct people to the Act as One website if you want any further details for some of the sessions that are still being conducted today. So the programme, it's been co-designed by colleagues with lived experience of disabilities, equality leads in terms of their specialist knowledge around that, but more importantly, members of our wider disability staff networks. So in terms of workforce disability equality standard then at Bradford Teaching Hospitals, and most people will be aware that this is actually an NHS equality framework, if you like. And what that does is introduces 10 different metrics that we as a public sector NHS organisation have to provide our data. So in terms of the experiences of disabled staff in comparison to those with no disabilities and no long-term health conditions. It's an annual data submission, and it's not just number crunching. We also have a responsibility in developing a comprehensive action plan, really, in how we're going to tackle some of them inequalities, because we acknowledge and that they are people. If people have a disability or a long-term health condition, they are most likely to have a poorer experience in comparison to their able-bodied colleagues. So the focus really for us at Bradford Teaching Hospital has really been around understanding lived experiences, acknowledging them lived experiences, but also acknowledging that actually lived experiences are very powerful, and we need to utilise them lived experiences to advance the disability equality agenda across the trust. And to do that, we are really underpinning, that's our approach, is underpinned by the social model of disability, because we also acknowledge that it's we as society that often put barriers up in place without thinking or being mindful of people who may have a disability or a long-term health condition. Next slide, please, Sarah. So in terms of background and context. So we were really, really keen in Bradford Teaching Hospitals about raising the profile of the disability equality. And at the same time, we got notification from the National NHS England about this funding that they've got for organisations who wanted to apply. And there were some themes within that funding in what we could apply for. And we really went with about raising the profile of disability equality, and sometimes that can be some really challenging for us because we've got staff in busy frontline departments, managers sometimes not understanding their knowledge or awareness of supporting somebody with a disability. So we were really keen to get disability out there and to really focus on the positives of disability. The speaker earlier on in the previous call really positively talked about how she spoke out and how it helped her in terms of, speaking out and then getting what she really needed to support her in the workplace. So we managed to successfully, and my colleague Sonia is on the call, who was the real sort of, game changer behind all of this in terms of really leading on that piece of work. And put in a fantastic bid, and we managed to get £15,000. And we're going to show you in a short time what we've done with that £15,000. Next slide, please, Sarah. So our DES funding, our innovation fund, our bid, as I've already said, was specifically with the aim of strengthening the role and the impact of the Enable Staff Equality Network. Because whilst we were working on this bid, parallel to that, we were working also on reviewing and refreshing the work of the Staff Equality Network. Now, any organisation, representatives who are in an organisation on this call and there's no disability network in your organisation, I would strongly urge you to look at why there isn't, first of all, and to create that appetite within the organisation in terms of having a network, because networks' roles are really, really important, because that's where you can really get people's lived experience, but more importantly, how they can influence with the organisation some of that disability equality agenda. So obviously in terms of our bid, we had to, sort of evidence clear performance indicators to measure our success. And I'll talk a little bit about that later on. There were demonstration of, I can never say that word, replicability and scalability. So through that, we were really wanted to be creative and innovative in how we raised the profile. And certainly, wanted that expectation that, some of the seeds that we're sort of planting here in terms of disability, that they would have them wider benefits and that it would really focus on raising awareness, but more importantly, creating some of them safe spaces, and giving others the courage and the confidence to perhaps, either disclose their disability. Maybe disclose is not the word we should be, but declaration of disability is really important. We know that when we do the staff survey, it's about 16% that our staff tell us that they have a disability, but on ESR, that's reduced to 3%. So there's something there that we really need to improve on. Next slide, please. So we were informed of our success in terms of the bid in December 21. One of the 10 trusts awarded 15k by NHS England, and we were one of them trusts. And as it says on the slide here, it was excellent timing to coincide with the appointment of Sonia, who is our part-time EDI manager, and her focus really is maximising engagement with our diverse staff at BTHFT. And Sonia's done a lot of work around reviewing and refreshing the role of our staff equality networks. So in terms of raising the profile at at the trust, and some of our focus has been really destigmatizing disabilities, both visible and non-visible, and really sort of working on driving up the self-declaration on disability, because data is really crucial. Data is really important. And in terms of our approach to equalities, we really have an evidence-based approach. We really want to look at what is the evidence, what is the data telling us, what are some of them engagement consultation events telling us, and then more importantly, what are we going to do about it? And I think there's definitely something about fostering working environments that are kind, compassionate, and inclusive. And certainly from within the trust, there's quite a lot of focus around that in terms of how we equip, how we empower, and how we advise and guide our managers so that they are comfortable and confident to be dealing with disability in the workplace compassionately and inclusively. We're not asking them to be experts in disability. What we say is that actually this is your responsibility, and often it involves a compassionate conversation with the manager. So better understanding of how disability, long-term health conditions, and being a carer truly impacts our daily lives on a holistic level. And when you see the video, you will see that the 6 contributors all have a different story to tell. But one unique thing about that video is that all of them stories are positive. Positive in a sense that how they have been supported in the workplace by their managers in terms of managing their disability or long-term health condition in the workplace. So I think I've already covered a lot of what's on this slide. So we'll just go into the next slide, please, Sarah. So the impact and the learning. So far, the video that I'm about to show you, that's had a bit of a ripple effect system-wide. So I was asked to attend a meeting where Navina Evans, who's the Chief People Officer from NHS England, came. And actually, I thought rather than talking about inclusion, what I want to show Navina is actually here's a video which captures inclusion very, very positively. And may I say, she was definitely blown away in terms of watching that video. And also, if I may say, the video is currently being played in London at the National Disability Summit. So I think that's absolutely fantastic as well. So already I believe the focus we've had with this work, it's raising the profile of disability equality, and it's really enabling us to celebrate disability. It's empowering our managers to support disabled staff in the workplace and ensuring our disabled staff to have a voice at key decision-making meetings. Not that they're just only present at their meetings, but we've been very, very clear that actually they have agenda time and they have a voice at these senior meetings so that they can really help influence disability equality in a positive light. And last but not least, which I've already talked about, is around the importance of our colleagues, our staff, no matter what level they are on, in terms of declaring long-term health condition. If they are carers, I myself, I'm a full-time worker, but I also care for my disabled son as well. And that's really important because there is quite a lot of focus in how we support our colleagues who are also providing unpaid care to a loved one within their family. So this slide here basically is the exhibition, and when you see it up in real life, when it's all erected, it looks absolutely fantastic. We've got lots of pictures in there, and there's lots of text in there, utilizing some real powerful language so that when people read that, they can see that actually my disability is actually, acknowledged within my organization. I'm recognized. I'm not going to be felt differently or anything like that. And that's quite crucial. So that's just to give you a bit of an overview in what the display looks like. We are hoping to erect the display Sonia, do you know when that is, in terms of when we're getting it in the forecourt? Because I really want people on this call, if you can, to really come and see it in real life.
Yes, because I'm just going to action that this week. Really, ideally want it up for the rest of December if we can. So that's just in motion. Just with sort of I'll have to deal with looking at it's quite a large display. It's quite
Yeah,
secure, but just in terms of our health safety with our people at Karen Bentley, just to make sure that it's all
yeah.
secure and we get the go ahead. So I will hopefully be able to update soon. Thank you.
Okay. So what we'll do, once we've got a date, we will let everybody know at the Disability Staff Network as well, so that people have that opportunity to come and have a look. So I'm really keen that we get some discussion going as well as part of this session. You don't want to be hearing from me for the whole hour rambling on, I'm sure. So we're going to play the video now very shortly. I'd like people to view the video, and then what we're going to do is come back and simply have a open conversation about disability equality. Okay, so Sarah, if you can very kindly play that video, that would be fantastic.
Can I just check that you can all hear it?
No.
No, Sarah, it's the sound. I think it's just there's a button that you click, for the sound before you share it. Perhaps it's that, maybe.
Thank you.
I've been working at Bradford Teaching Hospitals for about 10 years now. At first, I was in the contact centre, but now I deliver training about the electronic patient record system, which means getting everyone up to speed on the computer systems that support a patient's journey through the hospital. Most of the training I deliver is face-to-face, which means I can be meeting new people every day of the week, and it's not perhaps something you'd think someone with depression and anxiety would enjoy, particularly on their bad days. It can be hard work, but I love my job. Part of my condition means that I'm often stuck in fight or flight, and I have to work really hard to compartmentalise that. It's like having two sides of my brain at war with each other. But my first managers at Bradford Teaching Hospitals really helped me with that. They made me feel respected, they mentored me and helped me when I asked so many questions. They didn't know anything about my condition, they just naturally helped to create a really positive and trusting relationship. And that encouraged me to be very open about my condition. If I have any episodes now, my current manager helps me with the reality check and I can tell her anything. I feel blessed to have joined a compassionate and supportive organisation. I feel blessed.
My name's John Prasher and I'm a non-executive director. The role of the non-executive director is to work with the executive team to assure the whole of the board of the organisation that we are continually improving our services, working safely, managing risk and improving the quality of care to our patients and rising to day-to-day challenges. I've been blind since birth. I was a premature baby. As I've got older, the condition has continued to get slightly worse, so I've now ended up with a guide dog to ensure that I don't trip over steps. I've got a particular interest in maternity services given my own personal experiences, and one of our roles is to attend trust meetings. Initially, when I started working for the trust, I wondered to what extent having a dog might be a problem, particularly in terms of infection control, but very rarely has that been an issue within the trust, and all too often I find that Astley, my guide dog, is so much more popular than me. I'm very proud to be part of an organisation that rises continually to the challenge of respecting, valuing and including people from many different backgrounds and perspectives in everything that we do, and continually improving the way we offer and deliver services to our patients and communities in Bradford to make sure we become happier, healthier and at home longer.
I'm Akil, I'm 24 years old, I'm a Project Search intern. Project Search is an employability program for young people with learning disabilities. As an intern, I work in Bradford Royal Infirmary in a research team Born in Bradford, where I do database, Excel spreadsheets, birthday cards, I do the cleaning sheets. I have learned to communicate with the team because at the start I was too nervous to answer the telephone call, but as I built my confidence, my telephone skill got better and better. Where I am heading is doing an apprenticeship for 18 months with the Born in Bradford team. It's going to give me an experience of a lifetime because I've always wanted to work and get paid and to provide for my family in the future, and I feel excited about it.
For 15 years I worked in the theatres in Bradford, but when my rheumatoid arthritis flared up, I changed jobs to become an eye day case unit nurse. When COVID happened, I had to shield because I was vulnerable to infection, and my mental health went rapidly downhill. When the shielding rules relaxed, the Trust found me a position working on the relatives line at St Luke's Hospital, which was started to keep family and friends in touch with patients when they couldn't visit. It made such a difference to families during the pandemic. My new role has changed my life. The team were all redeployed from other parts of the hospital, and it has been fantastic to work together. Sometimes we have very hard and sad calls to make, but we support each other through those, and it feels so good to pass on positive news. We feel part of the fabric of the hospital now, and my new role has enabled me to flourish in a new way. I've learned so much, and I feel so motivated to help people, and my rheumatoid arthritis flare-ups have really settled down too. It's been a hugely positive change for me.
I was diagnosed with Charcot-Marie tooth disease when I was 28. It's a condition you're born with that affects your nerves. This impacts on muscle strength, control, and also how you walk. Before I was diagnosed, I was really active. I was a nursing officer in the military and a nurse on the hospital wards here in Bradford. It was sad that my ward-based nursing career had to end. I couldn't stand for long and my balance was affected due to the loss of feeling in my feet. I considered taking another role within another organisation, but when the Trust heard I might be leaving, they supported me to move into an alternative role in operations. Ever since then, they've supported my development with leadership and management courses, and now I lead 2 large business units for the Trust, one related to urgent care and the other for elderly care. There are over 1,000 people working in the teams that I lead. On the days that I'm in pain, the team understand that, they support me and I can easily adapt my working day. From exec level down, everybody has shown me their commitment, and for that reason, I'm committed to my career in Bradford.
My son Hassan is 26 and has a rare condition called Alström syndrome, which means he has full loss of vision, difficulty in hearing, and also other conditions such as type 2 diabetes. Only 700 people in the UK have this condition, and it means we travel to Queen Elizabeth Hospital in Birmingham, where he receives his medical care by a multidisciplinary team. Much of my life has revolved around taking care of Hassan and going with him to medical appointments. We also really enjoy getting out and about together. And I have to say, I am so proud of the man that my son has become. When I first joined the NHS, I was so excited about my role. But when the pressure of being a carer increased with Hassan's needs, I thought I might have to give up my job. What was important to me was to be open and honest about my situation, and ever since it's been a true give and take relationship. The NHS support has meant I've been able to really thrive in my leadership role, and also champion the Carers Passport, which allows colleagues to have those vital conversations about the flexibility needed to combine work with care. My experience has taught me that it all starts with really disclosing what's happening for you. It means I'm able to do my job well at work and at home too. To have that kind of backing from work is life-changing. Thank you, Sarah, for sharing the video and the slides. That's really, really helpful. So, colleagues, I hope you found that video inspiring. I'm sure you recognised one or two familiar faces on there as well. But really, just to sort of finish by saying, you know, it's been a real project as this. It's been one of them projects that's having a positive impact. And we know that when we are creative and innovative in our approaches, in sharing information on a complex area like equality, diversity and inclusion, you know, being creative and being innovative is the way forward about, you know, getting some of them key messages out there. So, as I said, this work is really having a positive impact in the organisation. We've still got a lot more work to do. We still need members from within the organisation to become active members of the Disability Staff Equality Network, because we feel we have a real approach here at Bradford. We've really focused in ensuring that our networks are thriving networks and they're not just talking shops. You know, talking in these meetings is really important, but what the focus for us is about solution focused. It's about co-production and it's about lived experiences and how we learn and utilise them lived experiences in the organisation. So I'm going to shut up there really because I think I've talked a lot. I just want to open it up for a wider discussion. Let's talk about disability in a safe space. And I do mean when I say that this is a safe space. And if people want us to stop the recording at this stage, then I'm happy to do that as well. So I would encourage colleagues who are on the call to basically let's use the rest of the time that we have just to have that open conversation. And as head of EDI and my colleague Sonia is on the call as EDI, we will capture stuff, obviously not mention any names or anything, but just with the focus of what we can do and how we can influence some of that feedback within the organisation as well. Thank you. So I don't know if anybody has a burning desire to come in first. But please feel free and please don't be shy, and please let's make use of the chat feature as well. So any immediate feedback, thoughts, observations, reflections, and there's no right or wrong answers here, okay? Oh, great. Hi, Lim. Oh, I recognise your name from the other sessions as well, and thank you so much for joining. Come in, Lim.
Hi. That was a great video. That was really inspiring. It's maybe a bit tearful. Can I ask? So, just to explain, I'm off with long COVID, and I actually aren't local to you, so I'm joining from a different part of the UK. But I'm an occupational therapist working for the NHS, and I've been an OT for 13 years. And I have undiagnosed autism and ADHD, and I have long COVID. So this is all come to a bit of a head for me. And I'm joining the employee health team because I've got long COVID. And so, and I am joining the staff networks. And I don't know whether we want to take this off recording. So in terms of like not making the staff networks just talking shops, as you say, and becoming solution focused and implementing those solutions, and it not just being one person having to drive everything, like, you know, the chair or the chair or co-chair driving things by themselves. Would you mind giving me some thoughts around that?
Yes, so no, that's a really, really good observation there. You know, being a member of a staff equality network, and we want to make it very, very clear that it's not just the responsibility of the chair or deputy chair. And this is why in Bradford, we're really keen, and we've been really keen to identify members of the core group. So in other words, once you've got a core group, that's your working group. That's your people with that commitment, passion, experience, knowledge, who want to come together and work in partnership with the Equality, Diversity and Inclusion Unit. And that's the approach we're really keen to have here at Bradford, Lim, because we know that actually this is not the role of the chair or the deputy chair to change things in the organisation. It's about them influencing their experiences and their expertise in terms of disability or any other long-term health condition. One of the things that we focused on very early on when we were hit with COVID, and it was the Chief People Officer at the time who identified 5 national ambitions for staff networks, and them ambitions were to ensure that wherever there's a staff network, that network is thriving in terms of how it's supported. Does it have a voice at a strategic level? Or is it just a talking shop whereby they're not connected with any of the decision making or governance, etc.? So I hope I've answered your question, and the answer is basically no, it's not the responsibility. It shouldn't be the responsibility of just the chair and the deputy chair, but there's something about the core group that is identified. So at the moment, let me just give you an example. We've got an LGBT, lesbian, gay, bisexual staff equality network. They've developed a core group with about 4 or 5 different people. Now they've taken on ownership as, okay, if this is the role of the network, then we want to go out and start delivering the rainbow badge training, which is an hour's briefing session. But as a core group, what they've said is that we want to do that because we've got the lived experience, we've got the knowledge, we're experts in our own rights. And as a core group, they seem to be working really well. Have I answered your question there, Lim?
You have, thank you. That really does, yeah, but like that does make a difference.
Yeah.
It's led to more questions, but I don't know if other people have. Are there other people who've got questions first?
Well, whilst you're on the roll, Lim, you carry on, and then I can't see any hands at the moment, but if further hands come up, we will take them. But if you want to go ahead and give us further feedback, that's great as well.
So where I am, there's been real difficulty in recruiting to the staff networks, and part of it, my perception has been that staff don't get allocated paid time to participate in staff networks. The chairs and the co-chairs do, but other people, you know, are just like, they don't have the time. There's also the timing of the meetings, if they're in the middle of a shift, or, you know, at the end of a shift or at the lunch break, and then you only get half an hour's lunch break, just all this sort of thing. Did that come up in your discussions at all, in your logistics?
Absolutely did, Lim, and again, another very, very valid points you've raised there, and I'm pleased you have. So recruiting, in terms of recruiting to network, so we've got a bit of a challenge actually in terms of getting new people to come and join, you know, the wonderful Sarah, who's the chair of the network at the moment, so we can form a bit of a core group. So some of the things that you've raised, Lim, absolutely. So in our organisation, we give facility time to chairs and co-chairs, and that's about 4 hours a month, if I'm right. Now, what we've said, and what we've said very clearly, that actually the equality networks are a key building block to the Trust's equality and diversity inclusion agenda. So we know we've got more work to do with our managers, whose role is, because this is a trust network, this is not Sarah's network or Kez's network or Sonia's network, this is a trust staff equality network, yeah? So we are in the process of working with managers across the trust, one, making them aware of these networks, and two, to tell them that actually if staff members are wanting to attend, then you should be encouraging them members to attend. You know, releasing a staff member for an hour or 2 hours is not a big deal. And actually, you've also mentioned, Lim, about the different timings, etc. What we're finding is that having meetings remote or virtual, we're getting more people dialing in. So for me, it's about a mixture of different approaches. We've had a lot of events on the concourse, and what we're finding is that actually being on the concourse is more effective sometimes than having a meeting, because what we're finding is that people are coming in, they're taking the information away, they're able to have a one-to-one conversation with whoever's on there. And what we're finding is that way interest is also being generated. So yes, I totally agree with you, Lim. Time can be a challenge. I've often said with our colleagues work in a hospital, we know how busy we all are up and down the country. It's very, very difficult. However, you know, it's about creative and innovative ways of how we engage with staff. Across the board. So, you know, I think a mixture of a blended approach is really crucial in getting people attending at meetings. And what you will also find, Lim, is that people tend to dip in and dip out. And that's absolutely fine as well, for people to do that, as long as the connections can still be made.
Thank you. Yeah, that gives me a lot of food for thought. Thank you. That's a really, really thorough and really good points.
So, Lim, just a question to you. Sorry to put you on the spot. Do you work for BTHFT? Are you in another part of the country?
Completely different part of the country. So I'm actually down in London.
Okay.
But I saw these events on Eventbrite, and because I'm going into I'm going to work for the EDI lead, basically.
Fantastic.
On a holistic reasonable adjustments project that she's implementing, and it's just, yeah, so hence I'm here.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Well, it's great to have you on board, Lim, and we can share our email addresses, Sonia and myself, in the chat. If there's anything you want to pick our brains about, or want some advice, guidance, or just want to share an idea with us, then we're absolutely happy to do that as well.
That's amazing. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Thank you. If I can come in, Case, that'd be really
Yeah,
great.
of course you
So
can.
I have to
Absolutely.
say, I've been a year at the Trust now, and this project was one of the first projects going for the bid to do this. It was at the heart of kind of my being, really. I'm also a carer for my mum. I've also got a long-term health condition, which is it's kind of an autoimmune condition, which whenever flare up, I get really unwell, but I've got a really supportive team. So really the whole ethos, and cutting aside, it might sound a bit cheesy, but it's not actually. Bringing your whole self to work is at the essence of inclusive work practices. And I've loved working on this project. For me, storytelling, journaling, showing that through creative multimedia approaches is at the heart of kind of really effective, innovative ways of working and resonating with our colleagues. And I think with my work with the staff equality networks and sort of revitalising, re-energising them, it's that the whole thing about this is we're still navigating through the winter season with spikes with COVID and everything, and the winter flu issues, and we've got with schools a strep situation going on. So there's lots going on in the background with our clinical staff, but for us it's that hybrid approach, like Kez has highlighted, it's vital. So we found I think with our LGBT plus network, they do prefer, the core network do prefer to kind of meet more regularly, face to face where they can. But then we have a link. We have a link where virtual members can join virtually. Sorry, and then also what we found is our race equality network. There's quite a lot of members, and they dip in and dip out, and that's at the heart of this. I think it's taking away that pressure for people to be part of that real change within their organisations. And with Sarah, who's our brilliant chair of the Enable Network, we're in a process of, I saw in the comment section, there's a sort of a point made around recruitment as well. And I don't know if that was related to Staff Equality Network, because I do apologise if I'm off topic, but there is a real challenge, I think, in trying to engage people that can hopefully then proactively lead. But I think it's taken away all expectations. Staff equality networks are real platforms for effective change, and we found with Enable we're taking a completely a different approach with that, because of waiting the winter season. A lot of our members, our staff colleagues, are having to work from home, and just utilising a different approach for this network. And Sarah and I have been last week on the main concourse consulting with our colleagues in preparation for the festival, and also highlighting Disability History Month, and just speaking to people. So I think really being out there where we can, but having different approaches is vital. And happy to sort of take any conversations outside of the festival and meeting. We've got a small little team with Kez as our head of EDI, with myself and my colleague Ruth. We're a small little team, but we're quite formidable, but happy to sort of work with other trusts and other organisations and share best practice, or have safe spaces for discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Sonia, that was great. Thank you very much. So any other colleagues have any further feedback, comments? Is there any, burning thought going through your minds at the moment? Please let us know. Let's use the however many minutes we've got left, another 7 or so minutes. But equally, I don't want to be keeping hold of you if there's nothing further to say. But yeah, I'm looking out for any hands.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, guys, I know our lovely chair of the network, Sarah, is on the call, and she's one of our brilliant contributors for the project. Sarah, would you be happy to share a little bit about your experience of being involved in the project, and I guess a bit of your sort of journey through your professional practices, and I guess also coming into being the chair of Enable, because you're an amazing chair for the network and an amazing colleague to work with, and it'd be lovely to hear sort of personally your sort of journey and experience, please. Thank you.
Yeah, it was quite nice actually being able to take part in this project, because what isn't covered in the video is the unfortunate stories that comes as in part and parcel of having these problems. And like my previous job, I actually ended up quitting because of the discrimination. It would just it was crippling, and I'd find myself going home every day and just wanting just to have everything over with. So when I actually, being completely transparent, it was actually my psychologist that recommended joining the NHS in a career path. But because my previous role had kind of destroyed me so bad, I didn't see how the NHS could possibly be any better at supporting my needs than any other workplace, because it just kind of, you end up painting everybody with the same paintbrush, don't you? But I took the advice. I went to my interview, royally messed up the interview, if I'm completely honest. But the manager that was interviewing me and who I was actually discussing in the video saw something in me that no one else had kind of seen, and she offered me the position, and that literally just opened the doors for me to just be completely built up from the ground up again. And it's just been an amazing experience being part of the NHS, which is why I didn't realise how passionate I was about this until I saw this innovation fund being advertised, and I thought, actually, I want my story to be heard, because especially with mental health problems, it's often seen as something that people don't acknowledge as a disability, or it's misunderstood by people that don't have enough understanding of all of the implications of it. And because I've had these issues for most of my life, it is something that I am actually really transparent with, and anybody that meets me, it is something that I just say, this is who I am. It's part of who I am, but it doesn't define me as such. But I am brilliant at my job. I have an amazing team that I work for, and I am very happy to discuss any questions that you have about my disability. So yeah, it's been nice being part of this and actually taking the time to really think about how blessed I am to actually be part of this particular trust.
And you know what, Sarah, as you're talking there, because I'm a contributor to the video as well, I just want to say thank you so much for coming forward, because it's not easy. And that's coming from my lived experience. It takes a lot of courage to share your personal story, and then to know that that personal story is going to be shared, you know. So thank you so much, Sarah, because every single contributor on that video is already making a significant impact. So in terms of my contribution, I'm not disabled. You know, I don't have a long-term health condition, but my son is. He's got a really complex condition and some real complex needs. So at the same time, I was wanting to push the carers agenda and disability by association as well. You know, so Sarah, I just wanted to come in really and say thank you so much for being so brave, for being courageous, and for sharing your story. Because without, you know, the contributors, we couldn't have got that video together. And thank you for sharing your experience so eloquently as well.
Thank you, and thank you, Kez. You, of course, you're one of our contributors on that video, and I think it just showing people behind their uniforms, behind their sort of professional lives is so important, because it just shows you that we are trying our best to be the best kind of inclusive employer out there. So when we do take this it's called a travelling photography exhibition for a reason. We'll be doing a smaller pop-up version that can be more accessible for community centres that are smaller. We've got this big display that can go out to other trusts, linking in with the NHS England to see where they want to take that one from the project. So I feel it's really about the more we speak about this, the more we can debunk and destigmatize sort of the feelings around sort of declaration, or you know, speaking about what we're dealing with on a daily level in tantamount to, you know, juggling busy working lives, busy home lives, quite stressful other situations. I think that's quite fundamental to, I think, what we're trying to achieve through raising the profile of disability equality at our trust. We hope it resonates with other people across not just regionally but also nationally, and we've received some good feedback from that. So definitely that's kind of, I think, what we're looking to do with the project. project. It's been a really great project to work on, and I think regarding the contributors we had included, we tried to capture everything sort of with CARE's Disability by Association. We tried to capture sort of through experiences from learning challenges to visible, non-visible, hidden, and that was a kind of the connectivity, like a patchwork quilt of sorts, really, for us to kind of have different voices come together to share a commonality of experience and hopefully resonate across the board with people. So just thank you for being here today, and we hope you can join some of the other sessions for the rest of the week. There some quite other good sessions as well, and welcome any further questions. We've got another 5 or so minutes before we close, so any other comments, feedbacks or suggestions or anything that anyone wants to discuss, happy to take some questions.
Yeah, just wanted to say, Sonia, if I may. So we've got a session on Thursday, and that's about the importance of disability declaration. That again is going to be a really important session because we want to share with what we're doing at Bradford Teaching Hospitals in terms of improving our disability declaration rates. Staff networks, we've talked about that today, but there's an actual whole session on the power of thriving staff equality networks, and that's also going to cover elements of intersectionality and equality, you know, and I think that is something we really need to be mindful in terms of going forward, that people actually, you know, we can't put people into small boxes and say, well, yeah, Sarah belongs there and Kes belongs there. You know, we've all got different characteristics. We've also got more than one characteristic as well. So intersectionality is really, really key. On Friday, we've got a bit of an open mic session where you can come in, join in, and again, it's just about creating that safe space where you can talk about anything you're afraid about in terms of disability. We had a really good session today, and I think we've got a similar one tomorrow in terms of neurodiversity at the Bradford District Care Trust, and that's something that's been identified as good practice. And then on Friday as well, we've got 2 till 3. It's a session on bringing your whole self to work. What does that look like? What does that feel like? How do we get that sense of belonging and inclusion within our workplaces? Okay, so if there's no further feedback or comments, then I will close the session. But before I do, I just want to say thank you for the people who have joined us. I really do hope you found the session informative and helpful. I also hope it's given you some ideas in terms of raising the profile of disability equality. And last but not least, if you are keen to join the Disability Equality Network, we would encourage you to join. Please contact my colleague Sonia. Sonia, it might help if you put your email address in the chat so that if people do want any further information, then at least they've got a contact person. So thank you for the lovely comments that people have left. That really does mean a lot. And yes, hope you all have a good afternoon, and once again, happy Disability History Month to all of you.